ABC 10 News at 7 starts now.
Starting this week, San Diego County vaccine sites will begin offering the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine for the first time. San Diego firefighters will start administering it tomorrow at the Balboa Park Municipal Gym. CVS pharmacies got their first J&J doses over the weekend. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. County health officials had been hoping this new one-dose vaccine would provide a huge boost to our region's vaccine supply. But ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl explains why vaccine providers are still trying to play catch-up.
A county spokesman says even with the arrival of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, they're only expecting about 50,000 doses this week. That's about the same number of doses they had last week without J&J. That total is much less than they anticipated, leaving vaccine providers scrambling to work through the backlog of second dose appointments for Pfizer and Moderna.
It takes priority over anything else in our lives, and we're just hanging.
Susan and Michael Atkinson got their first dose at the Petco Park Superstation January 22nd. The Carlsbad couple was supposed to get their second dose of the Moderna vaccine a month later in February, but they got a notice from UCSD Health rescheduling the appointment due to low vaccine supply. Then the next appointment was canceled and rescheduled, and then the next.
We just had change after change. We ultimately had about 4 cancellations of our appointments.
The second Moderna shot is supposed to be given 28 days after the first, but the CDC says if necessary, it can be safely delayed up to 42 days.
We're right now at 45 days since our first shots. I have a sister who's in Penasquitas. She and her husband were going to come for dinner, and we've put that off. We have a daughter in Oceanside and a couple of grandkids up there and her husband. And we've had to put our getting together with them off because we just don't know, are we going to...
And they've all had both shots.
Yeah, they've all had their shots, which is frustrating.
We took their story to UCSD Health. In a statement, they told us, "We deeply apologize for the experience that this family and others have encountered as we try to manage through this national vaccine shortage. This experience has been horribly frustrating for the community as well as distressing for us as healthcare providers." Health officials say these are some of the lingering effects of the severe weather that disrupted the nation's supply routes last month. As of late February, nearly 3 million Americans were left waiting more than the target time for a second dose. UC San Diego pointed out the ideal interval between doses still isn't known. It says its doctors do not believe delays longer than 42 days will harm the protection from the second dose. With some vaccines, a longer wait is actually better. But UCSD says it's committed to getting those second doses out as fast as possible. Petco Park is now exclusively open for second doses only. Not long after we reached out to UCSD, Susan and Michael Atkinson got good news.
A little afternoon, we had our second shots. We're so happy. Thank you so much.
Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
UCSD says it hopes to finish all second doses of the Moderna vaccine this month. And here are our latest numbers on the coronavirus in San Diego County. More than 300 cases were reported today. That brings our total to more than 263,000. There were no new cases of deaths, which is typical for a Monday, so that number remains at 3,390.
Thousands of North County students will not return to in-person learning now for the state denying waivers for 3 local school districts. And now many parents are upset. ABC 10 News reporter Rachel Bianco breaks down why the state made its decision to deny the waivers.
High school and middle school campuses across North County will remain mostly empty. Danielle Alphen says her 6th grade daughter was excited to go to middle school for the first time, only to be disappointed again.
I wish I had captured on video the countless times I have had to tell my 6th grader, "I'm sorry, they changed their mind again and you don't get to go back to school."
It's a conversation families in the Poway Unified, Carlsbad Unified, and the San Diego Union High School districts all had Sunday night.
Frustration, anger that our state is denying my child and thousands of others access to their own education at their own schools with really arbitrary rationale.
There's a reason that we're last in the country in in-person learning, and it's because the state is not interested in letting our schools reopen for whatever reason.
San Diego County Health okayed the plans for all 3 districts to reopen for hybrid instruction while the county is still in the purple tier. State approval was the last step and one many thought was a formality.
And for the last minute, the state to just yank that away for what I would call very arbitrary and capricious reasons, to me, it's just unacceptable.
One of the reasons listed in this letter says districts can only return with a ratio of 1 teacher all day per 15 students.
If I go down that list, I'm like, check, check, check. I've met all of them except for the one that says a cohort has to be with 1 teacher. Well, I obviously can't do that with middle and high school.
The 3 districts are a part of a lawsuit against the state.
It seems how decisions are being made right now in California predicates on the strength of an argument you can put before a judge. I just don't think that's a great way to run our state.
A judge will hear their case Wednesday. Rachel Bianco, ABC 10 News.
Well, this afternoon, Carlsbad superintendent announced a variance will allow 6th graders to return for a hybrid model of in-person instruction that would start tomorrow. And Poway was planning to go back on the 17th. The county may be in the red tier by then.
Spring break is upon us, and many parts of the country are already seeing a spike in tourism. Our ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano shows us how San Diego is gearing up for more travelers while still following COVID guidelines.
Beach towns always get a big draw when it comes to spring break, but Arizatava says last year was dismal.
We didn't have any spring break. We closed the store for 2 months.
The owner of the bikini shop in Mission Beach says California's strict stay-at-home order and travel guidelines made sales plummet.
Really, really tough. We lost a lot of tourists, especially the one from overseas.
Meanwhile, in Florida, there is already a surge in college spring breakers from around the nation hitting the beaches, increasing concerns of COVID spread.
We're not looking to get the wild crowd here.
Bob Rausch with RIR Hospitality says San Diego normally does not see too much of the rowdy college crowd, more of families and nearby vacationers who drive from places like LA and Arizona. He says compared to last year's virtually 0 hotel occupancy, things are slightly looking up.
The weekends have really been picking up. There's a lot of what I'll call pent-up demand, or as other people have referred to as revenge travel.
Interestingly, he says many of the current bookings are made by older folks, and it all has to do with vaccine eligibility.
Well, the vaccine is a huge jumpstart for tourism because at least the first 10 to 15% who have received both shots, they are starting to travel.
Rausch says slowly those younger than 65 are also making reservations.
We might be able to get a bounce where families will come and stay for the entire week for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Back at the bikini shop, Atava continues to practice strict COVID protocols. He's hoping to welcome back travelers who skipped out on San Diego last year.
We're just hopeful that it's going to be okay.
Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
Hotel experts say that during spring break of 2019, hotels were running at 100% capacity, averaging about $200 a room. Last year, of course, there was nothing, but this year they are projecting hotels will be at 70% capacity, averaging roughly $100 a room.
The Escondido Police Department says it's improved its de-escalation policy. The changes come after the death of George Floyd, which sparked nationwide protests last May.
And what became so clear to me was that the community wasn't coming out just to voice their anger at what had happened in Minneapolis, but also voicing expectations that law enforcement in Escondido be well trained, be professional, and treat all members of our community fairly.
Escondido Police Chief Ed Varso took a knee with community members last May and listened to their input. He said the department also reviewed best practices for de-escalation techniques after local protests. And from that, a new policy was born, instructing officers to look for ways to end situations without using physical force. You can see a full copy of the policy at police.escondido.org. As part of our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion in our community, ABC 10 News is bringing you an eye-opening special on the hidden bias of good people. We'll look at the unconscious attitudes and stereotypes that we make and how we can change for the better. It airs tomorrow at 8 p.m., followed by a live roundtable at 9 o'clock on our ABC 10 News Facebook page, where you can ask questions.